we all came from really nowhere when my family immigrated in France. Because I'm still young, a lot of people think I don't have enough experience. This guy is screwing me and this is not going my way. And then you kind of take a step back and you're like, all right, wait, is my life that bad? And
Tom, how much do you have in real estate? He's all low key. He's like, anywhere between 200 and 300 million. I'm like, dude.
Being successful and being happy by yourself is usually miserable. I did 2 big partnerships with families that are way wealthier than I am. I don't know if I can say the names here.
Can you say the names? I was going to say, can you say the names?
I'm doing
what
hotels.
Are the names?
The hotels I'm doing with the...
Hello. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Rich and Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nati Restrepo, and today I am so honored. This is a very special guest. I have Tom Assouline, a proud member. What is your exact title in Assouline Family Capital? I mean, real estate mogul, but not only that, someone that I've gotten to know, and it's a true honor to be here with you. How are you feeling? Thank you so much for being here, Tom.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. No, it's great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And I title is kind of just a title. I own, I manage, I run stuff, and I'm also a family man.
A family man, a man who has started his legacy pretty young too. I mean, it's super inspiring to see what you're creating. You work in real estate, and I think that a lot of people are intimidated when they see someone that is involved with so many assets like yourself. I mean, we're just talking briefly and you're like, yeah, I'm like, Tom, how much do you have in real estate? Like, he's all low key. He's like, anywhere between 200 and 300 million. I'm like, dude, that's like badass. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Before we even jump into your story in terms of real estate, who was Tom before real estate? Talk to me about your story and how you really I know a little bit, but I would love to hear it through your own words, and that's the most exciting part, that I get to hear it from you during this podcast.
Yeah, so actually before real estate, I was in school. I was just a teenager because I started real estate when I was about 18, 19.
Wow.
So I started real estate when I moved here from France.
Okay. How old were you when you moved from
18.
France? Wow.
Yeah, I was just about to be 18, and I went right into it.
Wow.
So
and so you moved here from France. Talk to me like maybe young Tom, like growing up in France. What kind of teenager, what kind of kid was he?
A little bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rebel?
Yeah, a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really, I had a lot of interests, like sports, and I was doing good at school, but like never really interested me that much.
Yeah.
My father had a pretty big company in France as well, so saw him working a lot, and my father didn't go to school much because back in the days he kind of had to make money.
Yeah.
Being issued from a poor immigration.
Where was his family from?
Morocco, Israel, then Morocco, then France.
Really?
So he kind of quit school and 14, 15, started working, and I kind of all I've seen him do is work. And so I thought, why the hell do I need to stay in school? Because I could just do the same thing.
Do the same thing that he's doing. He's not in school, so clearly I don't need to.
Exactly. And I already have a jump start, so I didn't really need to focus on that too much. So a little bit of rebel and I like to having fun.
You have siblings, right?
I do. I have 3 siblings.
3?
Yeah.
Oh, are you the youngest?
No, I'm in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah.
And are they in real estate too?
A couple are. One is really focused on his helicopter pilot kind of life, but mostly in real estate.
Okay. And what moved you guys? So I mean, first off, like moving from France. So you're like this teenage kind of rebel, like you kind of see your dad that came from nothing, immigrated from Morocco to France. Now you guys are making the move down to Miami.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you at 18? Did you already know at 18 that you were going to be involved in real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least in business in general, right? But my parents moved here before I did, with my younger sister. And they started real estate just because that's what my father's been doing, and in order to get a visa and a green card, and easier when you start a business. So they started here, and then it was 2010. So back then there was a big financial crisis. Everything was kind of crashing. And so I was, in France starting to work here and there for my, restaurant. I did market cashier and waiter and bartender. And
were you really?
Yeah, I was 16, 17. And so my father called me and he's like, look, everything is crashing here. I'm seeing deals that I've never seen in my life. Just leave whatever you're doing and come here.
Wow.
So I did, and then it all went up from there.
Okay. And so when you came in here, you came to Miami. Well, is that around the time that you met Daniela?
No, I met her
later on?
3 years after,
3 years. Okay, so backstory,
I had
guys.
my fun.
So backstory, the way that me and Tom met was because his wife is a super dear friend of mine since childhood. We go back since we were 12 years old. And I actually remember around that time, like, her meeting you. And so, okay, so good. And so you meet her. And, I mean, before you meet her, before your family starts, you're this rebel kid that's like deciding, okay, now I'm going to take real estate a little bit more serious. My dad's, did your dad, walk me through that process where you were like, okay, I'm going to work in my family with my family and I'm going to kind of get by, or I'm going to take it so serious?
So no, I didn't really have the choice because my dad was already retiring. So he kind of started the business just to get a business for the visa, right? And he called me and he's like, look, I'm not gonna work, just take over and get started. So I moved here. He probably taught me for 6 months the basis, and then I kind of started running shit. So can I swear here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll blur it out.
All right.
You could totally.
Then I just started.
You started
running the thing right away. So I didn't work for my family. I just kind of took over and started the business.
So I think there's a lot of people who watch, right, like their fathers be successful, or maybe there's a family business that's kind of like that they're maybe inheriting and they don't feel like it aligned. When did you feel like, man, I actually want to do this?
So it's very different because I've met a lot of kids and just people in general that are kind of taking over their family's business. This is different because there was really there was a business in France that was run. I've never been involved in there, but here was just no business. So it was kind of like, you have your basis, and we have this little real estate company that my father put together again for immigration purposes. And we could either just, like most kids I've met in that situation, just kind of just stay, enjoy life, and
party,
take a check from the family business every month, or you could just take what you have and kind of 2, 5, 10 exits. So I went that way, right? Because that's what my father did in his life. He just took out of nowhere.
Out of nothing, he would create
thing,
like
right? So,
amazing things.
So I wanted to be independent, and in order to be independent, you have to do your own shit.
Yeah.
Your own thing.
You're like,
gotta
do your own shit. I love it. I love it. How do you think that, let's say if you wouldn't have came to Miami and you would have had to stay in France, do you think you would have had the same kind of story where you built something out of nothing?
It's easier to build things here than in France.
Yeah.
Right? Just like less taxes, just easier business minded opportunities here. So, probably maybe at a lesser scale, but I'll probably be the same thing, right? I'm working 24/7. I'm nonstop. I don't take vacations, or I do take vacations, but I'm working during vacations. So that's just a state of mind, right? It's either especially when you have a family that could support you if you wanted to. It's kind of, I went the other way and said, let me just go at it as if I had nothing, and I'm still going right now.
Yes, I love it. Let me ask you, when you're starting, so you move this business that was just almost like something to put in your arsenal, something for you to kind of make your way in the US, and boom, you started building out of it. And I mean, you saw your dad in business, totally amazing. But I think our parents tend to do things very old school, and they don't get the opportunity to teach us
Yep.
the real shit that goes down in business, right? As much as they can try to prepare us, there's just certain things that we have to truly learn the hard way. And I think a lot of people who are in our community, they're trying to build something that their parents have never built before. And our parents can only take us as far as they have gone, which is most of the time not too far. I mean, in terms of wisdom, yes. But in terms of that wisdom that I'm speaking about, when you are negotiating deals, and whether that's being in real estate or in any type of company, because I know that you like to put your hands into other different types of ventures.
Yeah.
You're not just a real estate guy. If you see, potential in something, you like to build upon it. And that is something that takes a lot of intuition, right? Which is something that with working with real estate people that I usually find that they kind of drift away from talking about, and it's so wild because I've got the opportunity to spend time with really powerful people, but they don't talk about this, which is, how do you trust? Where do you, when you're negotiating a deal, and let's say you're bringing on a partner, right? How do you make that decision? Do you have this person that you usually go to? Maybe it's your wife, or so. Where do you go to when you're
Yeah, my wife has, I would say, a little more people intuition than I would, right? I'm really business oriented. I don't have a mentor. I don't have, my father, as I told you, is retired.
How old is your dad?
76.
Okay, yeah, he's our dad. Okay, no, he's a little older. Your dad's 76.
Yeah, I'm second marriage.
Oh, second.
Yeah, so he had a whole thing before I came
really?
in. Right? But so that's why he retired pretty quickly after moving here, and I had to take things on. So look, you either go the safer way, and you don't really trust anybody, and you don't take any risks, right? Which works, but it usually doesn't work as well as when you take some risk. In terms of trusting people, I mean, I don't like trusting people in general, right? I trust my wife. It's already a lot.
You're wife, make the decision.
No, but I don't. In business, I'm talking about business. Trusting people, it really, it kind of comes down to numbers. At the end of the day, some can trust somebody if, depending on what this person's going through with their life and their family and their financial situation and other opportunities he is or she is getting along the way, things can change, right? So you might have a truthful relation with somebody at first, business-wise, and then something happens in their life and something's happened with the business, and then everything's just switch, right? So it's kind of trusting, but always with a backup plan.
I see that happen all the time. One of the biggest things that I have 3 different containers of people that I typically help, and tier number 1 being people who are kind of having that awakening in life, where, think of yourself maybe at 18 years old, right? You making that decision to take the business, the little seed, because all that was, because there was no business, like you're saying. It was simply a little seed that your dad kind of
Yeah.
You could have easily just ignored it, right? But in a sense, that is an awakening. That's why I integrate both of those worlds together. Then you have when you're oh no, I'm going to take this to the next level. and you can't ignore it. You see the potential and you're just like so stuck onto your vision. And then I have my tier 3s, which typically are business owners who are doing really well. And the biggest obstacle that they run into is that trust factor, because they want to scale their business, but because throughout that process when they were building their business, it was such a lonely road. Yeah. And people get so disappointed. We get so disappointed when we're building because no one's really there, you know, that when it's time to scale the business and they have to trust someone to come in, right? And okay, I'm not going to just trust one person. I'm going to trust 10 people that like work in my organization, and I'm going to teach them my skills, and I'm going to teach them my knowledge and my wisdom, and I'm going to trust that they make the right moves.
Yeah.
Have you been through those crossroads?
So yes, yes and no, because I'm still early in my businesses, but you know, at the end of the day, you just got to make the best out of it, right? Like I've seen, again, not from my own experience, but my father's, who was running a pretty big company, had a lot of trust, kind of business trust, right? With a lot of his employees and a lot of his partners, whatever, a lot of them just ended up screwing him, right?
Yeah.
But kind of, it's, you know, it's my father would tell me, it's too bad for them, you know, because he would just keep going. There's always somebody that can come and fill the gap, and you just keep moving, and whoever's trying to screw you, it's usually like a one-time thing, right?
Yeah, they show their colors. And
they show their colors. So a way that, again, what I learned, what I'm doing is, in order to see those colors faster than, you know, kind of at the end, you just gotta give it all, at least, you know, show that you're just giving it all, and usually the colors comes out pretty, you know, much faster than if you're holding everything off from them, and then you know, you give it a little bit, then people tend to screw you later on, whether that if you just give it all and you just share your knowledge and you know, and you kind of trust them, or at least show that you're trusting them, then you're gonna see people that are gonna try to screw you right away, or not, right?
Oof.
And it's too bad for them.
Dude, that's good. That's a good gem. I think that a lot of people are going through that, you know, more people than you know, that we know, because I think we get to a level in life sometimes where we have a hard time asking for help, especially as givers and providers. Like, you are a provider. It's very clear, because if not, again, you could have been this guy just continuing to party in France, like, just let it be, let me just use, right? You are that person who is giving constantly. That is what successful people do. They give. Yeah. And they don't let themselves get hung up on that one person that's going to rip you off. In that situation where you're like giving to people, how do you usually make that discernment to ask for help? When do you ask for help? Do you ask for help?
No, I mean, like on the business side of things, not really, you know, like I like to make my own decisions, and I usually, you know, whenever I don't know, not really help, but whenever I'm not sure about which decision to make, I usually kind of run it by a lot of people that are, you know, they're not really related to me, or that you know, have all different opinions, and I, you know, when you hear different opinions, then you kind of make your mind up.
Yes. So you have your little group of people where you're like, that person gives me some good advice on this, that person gives me some good advice on that.
Yeah.
And then my wife,
kind of just like not even asking for help, but you kind of like tell them what's going on, and they all have some kind of
input,
feedback or input on this, and you know, and you kind of take what you think is best, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with everything, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know how you're going to design your house. You can ask a few people how they would design your house, and then you make your answer. Exactly.
You make your decision.
I think you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was you know, for those of you guys who are watching, we've converted this studio. If you're interested in getting a studio done, hit us up at Media Poppy. But sponsored by Media Poppy. But okay, and sometimes you have like the perfect deal in front of you, and I'm sure like there's been so many times where you've been so excited about a deal. You have 2 hotels coming up, really big hotels. Like, congratulations. Thanks. On that. That's super exciting. That's amazing. And I was actually looking into one of them, and you know, these are like staple places in Miami. You know, they have history to them, and so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But sometimes there's a deal that maybe has come on your lap and it's looked perfect. And has it ever happened where everything seemed perfect and everything seemed aligned, but something deep down told you, this isn't the right deal?
Yes and no. Like, there is no deals that really, I mean, if it seems perfect, like, yeah, there is the case where everything looks great, and then when you start digging in, it doesn't, right? And you end up not making the deal. But if after the dig in, it looks perfect, I mean, no deals is perfect, but it looks great. You know, it's you always have to prepare for any eventualities, right? Like, it's if you're looking at a hotel, for example, like, is the market, like, Miami looked great when I bought the deal. Do I think Miami can not look great in a few years? You know, do I think that people are not going to spend, you know, as much as they used to be pre-COVID, that they're going to spend as much money in traveling? And you got to take all the factor in, just like we talked about just now about trusting people. I mean, it's the same thing here. You have to trust, but you have to prepare yourself for, you know, whatever is going to happen next. And if you're prepared for that, and you're good with, you know, anything that could happen, just like with people, like, then whenever it does happen, if it happens, then you already, you know, already know what the deal is.
Are you the type of person who, when someone does disappoint you in business, I'm sure you've gotten screwed over. Have you gotten screwed over in business?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah? How many times? With your hands, or like?
Yeah, with my hands.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not
with
too
one
much.
hand.
With one hand.
Yeah.
And do you think that you've handled those situations good?
Yeah, I just really don't.
Or each time you're like, okay, now I've learned how to like manage that better and better each time.
Yeah, I think you learn, right?
Yeah.
You always learn from your mistake, but then you can't really, you know, prevent people from trying to screw you. Like, even if you know, as much as you're going to learn, you're still going to have people trying to do some tricky stuff, right? But I never paid too much attention to it. Somebody tries to do something, you kind of like, it's easier to just let it go than
to hold on to it and have all that anger is tough.
It's the same thing, business or, you know, your regular life is just kind of the same.
He said it, not me. Business and your regular life, it's like the same. That's why I always tell people the most healing thing that you can do is to start your business.
Yeah.
Because that shows you true self-worth. You know, like that you have whatever silly idea you have inside of you. If you can bring that out and manifest that, manifestation. I want to talk about manifestation is like, stop talking about it and be about it and do it and prove it. I love it. If I don't know why I just thought of this, but I just thought of like your daughter, and you know, if you know, the day that she's building her own, because she's like a legendary little girl. like you guys are gonna meet her one day. I promise you. Like, this girl is iconic. Okay, for the day that she's around all these kind of very powerful people and making a name for herself, what's like one piece of advice in terms of trusting people, especially in that world, right? She's gonna really need it.
Just, you know, don't trust people. First of all,
don't
that's
trust
the first advice, especially as a girl, you know.
Yeah.
In your personal life, just don't trust anybody, whether it's your friend, your boyfriend, your whoever, you know. Just don't, you know, at least have a limited trust, because you can't just leave without trusting anybody, right? You got to start trusting some things, but prepare for anything that might come up, right? A lot of people get devastated when they start, again, business, right? That's what most people don't start businesses, because they're scared that they're gonna fail, and then they're gonna be like, end of my life type of situation. Same thing with relationship, right? A lot of people I see talking about their ex for years. I mean, it's the same thing, right? Just try without putting all your trust and all your hopes into one thing, and then if it fails, and then just on to the next thing, right?
Yes.
So that's what I would tell my daughters, because you
daughters.
really worked with one, but the other one is
no, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Or even a little
the
crazier.
Other one too. The other one too. But we're gonna we'll keep that for chapter 2.
Just live and enjoy your life. It's basically the thing. It's just experience, enjoy, and live your best life. Just don't forget that things can happen.
It's crazy because we're saying this casually, but I was on a coaching session the other day with a client, and her father passed away, and she's starting this business. It's a really beautiful business. She helps children that have been adopted connect with their cultures. Yeah.
Okay.
And
cultures is
let's say if you were adopted and your biological parents were from Nigeria, but your adoptive parents were American, you don't have any connection to your Nigerian roots. So she started an agency where the adoptive parents can hire this agency, and let's say your child is interested in knowing who she is, they connect you, and like they take you to your roots and stuff like that. Super interesting.
So they're trying to help you like meet some of your family members and stuff. Oh yeah.
And like the agency, like in Nigeria the New Year is this day, and this and that and that. And it was so interesting because we started like digging deep. I was trying to help her understand like who her father was, and he was a fighter. And I think it was like Taekwondo or something like that, or UFC. I don't know about that stuff, but I'm like, let's Google him. And when we Googled him and went on YouTube, she's like, actually, he has some footage. And we were looking at him sitting in an interview, like answering a lot of the questions that she had. So it's so like, oh, what would you tell your daughter? No, but in a few years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, she's literally going to be listening to what you had to say.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah, it's great, especially today. And, back then you didn't have much footage of anything, but like today, yeah.
That's why social media is so, and I tell you too all the time, like, Tom, like, it's not about you. Like, being on social media is not about you. It's like, this is a way for us to keep records of the amazing things that we've done. Like, your record keeping right now, this conversation of us is like, okay, there was a record of like my dad sharing this knowledge and this information for me, for your daughter. Because if not, like, oh, the home tapes, we don't even have the VHS machines anymore, which is so crazy.
Everything in the iPhone now.
Everything is in the iPhone. Oh man, so cool. Okay, I wanted to ask you this question too. You are someone who super, like, first impression, you're super nice. Oh, he's super nice, super cool, laid back, chill, But I am so sure that when you are in a room where hard conversations have to take place, that there's this hat that you from the Montclair hat to the other hat, from dad hat to, how is it with the cheerleader?
Yeah.
Go 1, 2,
Sometimes
3.
all of them at the same time,
I've seen him directing his daughter's music video. Come on, girls. 1, 2, 3. Those hard moments, no. But when you're actually negotiating big deals, right? I'm sure that there's like this other side of you that comes in. How do you choose, right, between like the ego, right? Sometimes when we have to make those hard conversations, we can be like, oof, I came off a little rough. Does that happen to you? Do you like have moments of reflection where you're like, oof, okay, that was...
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It does. I mean, it's usually not too bad, but it does. Stress and sometimes stuff going on that are not even related to the problem that you're trying to solve happens at the same time. So you're sometimes a little too rough. A lot of times it works in your favor though.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's
Johnny's like, sometimes
it's good to be rough sometimes, maybe it's too much, but at least you made your points, and then you can always come back on it and say, look, it was a little bit rough.
Do you reflect?
But I was right, I was,
but I was right about this.
What I said was what I was trying to say. I just didn't say it the right way, But unless you're going crazy and saying things that you don't mean, then everything is fixable.
Okay, so I love this question that I just put together. How do you decide who gets a seat at your table?
What table?
You're like, which table?
Business-wise?
Like in life, and personal relationships and in business.
I mean, in life, it's...
What are like some key things that you look at in people where you're like,
Look, in life, simple, it's really family, right? It's my kids, my wife, my direct family, and nobody else kind of gets a seat at the table. They can sit around the table, but really at the table that I can really spend my time and focus on, it's really family. I do have to, spend some time and like work. At least people you work with cannot just be work, because then it's a very how can I say that? It's a very then it's all about work, where people that work for you or with you like to think that they're also kind of a family, right?
Yeah.
And they're not just an employee that you're asking to do X, Y, and Z whenever you need to do it. That's usually when people leave you or try to screw you, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like dealing with like my real table, like in my mind, not the official table that I tell everybody they have a seat at, right? It's really my family.
I love
Other
that.
than that, it's you have your employees, but again, they come, they go, Like
I love that.
That's really on
Dude,
them.
that's so key. I love that. Like, it's just, you're making it super clear. You're like, at my table, it's my family. Like, that's my table.
Yeah,
but
could fit here.
Yeah, you can sit around if you want, but that seat right there, that's my seat.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, I don't know if your family would do this too, but I remember growing up, my grandparents, it was like, no, that's your grandfather's seat. And like, no one sat on my grandfather's seat. Like, always respected that, like, no, like, whoever comes over, okay, cool. But that's your grandfather's seat.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we didn't have like that, right? But it was, first of all, my father was never home. I was always working, so like seats would always be taken. But like, we had a lot of people coming by, friends, employees or partners of my father. Same at my house,
Yeah.
Everybody can sit wherever they want. They just have to respect your house and you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how you see who people are really is. After a while, you kind of catch those little things that don't sit right with
don't align.
you, right? And usually when it doesn't fit right, it's something is up, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of...
Are you the type of person that addresses it right there, or do you?
Depends what it is, right?
Yeah.
If it's something bad, then yes. If it's like a little, sometimes you think you heard something, but it could be interpreted different ways. So sometimes I just like kind of let it flow.
You pick your battles,
but you don't forget it, right? And
yes.
and if it happens again, then you
then
bring
you're
it
like,
up.
oh, that's
a pattern.
what that was. That was a pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's something that I've been thinking about
If
too.
not, you're fighting all the time.
Yeah. Like, why is it that this keeps coming up?
Same thing in a relationship.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. As partners, I always tell people, like, your partner is such a representation of all of the things that you still have to work on. They reflect that constantly. They're our biggest teachers in life. So it's literally the same.
Depends with which partner.
You're like, which? Okay.
It depends the partner. Some partners are not reflecting anything to do with
it's
you,
a
and
thin
it's
line.
usually when it doesn't last. Yeah,
it's a thin line. We've all experienced the. What sign are you, Tom? We have to know.
Cancer.
Oh, you're Cancer and Pisces.
But Danielle is
Pisces.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What does that mean?
Danielle, how do you do it? But I'm just kidding. No, it's beautiful because both of you guys are very people who are very in tune with the way that you feel. Mm-hmm. They're two signs that are in tune with the emotional part, which is interesting. You're like, no emotion. No emotion.
None.
Well, I wanted to ask you too. You mentioned like that you understand that it's important for you to show your employees or your team that, okay, it's not just all business, right? You understand that for people, it's important for them to feel like they're a part of the movement, that they're a part of something. What's something that you do because there's a lot of business owners, right? That are going to be watching you and that they're like, okay, like he's doing this way. I can maybe do some of that in my team because I guess I've never even thought that it was important for me to make my employees feel like they're important and a part of our business table at least. What's something that you kind of try to do with your employees?
You know what? Nothing specific. Like, at some point, when you have, depends on the size of the company, right?
Yeah.
If it's a company where you have a good year, you made a lot of money thanks to your employees, right? Then I think what I think is the most family-like business thing you could do is trips, right? Mm-hmm. You go on a little trip with like the best employees, or if it's not a trip, if it's not that much money you made, maybe it's just a.
Are you saying people a retreat business owners should do retreats?
Retreat would be best. I kept that for last, but trip, even a dinner, lunch, nice. Even if you don't do any of these because maybe your employees are remote and they're or you're remote, mm-hmm. whatever, just the way you're talking to them, right? Yes. There is a way you can talk, like you're gonna want to work with me, for me, more if you feel like I care about you, right? Not just about, I don't care about your deliverables and if you really turned in that document on Monday, but I also care about like how are you doing in your life, how's mm-hmm. your wife, how's your husband, do you have any kids, and where mm-hmm. are your kids at, and maybe I give you a couple advice on how to handle your kids because I went through the same. So like this kind of that makes a little difference about somebody that works for you. Is like, oh, he actually cares, not just about deliverables and mm-hmm. freaking email I didn't send yesterday, right? It's just he cares about my life, and maybe I can tell him about the issue I have at home and this and that. So it's like
and that's a thin line too.
The what?
Yeah, that's a thin line. Like
it
it's
is.
like
it is.
Because sometimes
it is.
I think people have a hard time differentiating. Okay, do my employees, do my staff see me as a friend, or do they see me as more of someone that they can admire and learn from?
Yeah, you kind of have to remind them a lot of
who's
time,
the boss.
When you're talking like what I'm saying, it's family. Then sometimes they might think that it's okay, like that they can make mistakes, and then you kind of put on your boss hat.
Yeah, there you go. The hats. Yeah. The hats. I'm telling you,
a bunch of hats.
It's a bunch of hats.
Yes.
And having those hard conversations, I think expectations are so important too. A lot of people in this space, they don't set the tone for expectations, and I see that it's obviously your employees are they think that they can get away with all these things because they don't know any better. Okay, I want to jump into this next part, which is now talking about who we are and our core beliefs and the things that are essence of the way we were brought up. For me personally, I had a really interesting dynamic in terms of culture, because I grew up in Aventura, meaning that I grew up in the community with the most amount of Jewish people like ever, right? And I always tell people how as I travel the world, and even when I go back to Colombia, I always tell my partner, well, all my best friends were Jewish growing up, and I always say, like, I feel like my favorite uncle in my family was Jewish too, and there's so many gems that I got to learn, right? When my friends with Danielle would be like, hey, come over for Shabbat, like those little things that I learned were so beautiful. And one thing that I have been able to see from my Jewish friends is like the way that they help each other is like I don't see that in any other like community.
Yeah.
Like if there was one cousin that was struggling and they had a furniture business, and then the other cousin was like
buying furniture.
The other one's in the furniture business too. Yeah. And they had a car dealership. Oh no, the whole family was in the car dealership. I always saw that. So I would love to hear about how the influence that growing up, Jewish, and how it is that has benefited you, or has it benefited you in the way that you currently do deals?
It did. It's and Aventura, knowing the town and some of the people here, it's really specific, right? Same, kind of the whole Miami area. It's I feel like it's not like the typical American, even Jewish American that I've seen in other places. It's really more of a community. It reminds me of my house, like where I'm from in France.
Really? Is it like that too? Like where in France were you
in
from?
Paris.
Okay.
But like that community, like the way you guys interact with each other, it's kind of like over there. And again, I haven't been in that many places in America either, so I can tell if that's the only place. But
it is.
I think it's very particular. But anyway, it taught me, again, values, which is family is number one. So families, you can include your friends and everything, but it's really like you help people, and then at some point you're gonna get help back. Maybe not from the guy you helped, but the more you give, the more you should receive from life in general. And that's kind of what I grew up with. And then I had, again, my father that has helped all my family, because we all came from really nowhere when my family immigrated in France. So as soon as one came up, then he started pulling everybody up with him. And then
why do you think that they're like that? Where does that come from?
I think it comes back to what I said earlier, is your table that you told me about is your family, right? And so, and family and close friends, and people that you actually think that care about you, that's just usually a small table. You don't have, even if you have 100 friends, your table should be very limited.
Yes.
It should.
Yeah.
And so you want to kind of help the people that are around this table, and being successful and being happy by yourself is usually
Do you think that's
miserable.
something? You think that's something that most Jewish, right? Because what's anybody thinks about when they say a Jewish American is like success. Like, isn't that crazy?
It is.
Like, everybody will think, oh, success, money.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially today.
Especially today.
Yeah.
Especially today, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and so from the outside perspective, people are like, what is it, right? When you think of like any, it's so wild, right? Because for me, I grew up with it, so it's like, but an outsider, maybe in Minnesota, some person in Minnesota, right, is gonna think about Judaism almost like as if we were to talk about what's a religion that me and you know nothing about. I was gonna say a certain religion, but it's like let's not even bring that up. But you know what I'm saying? Those culty kind of religions, right? We think of it's so wild that people would think of that. So what do you think is something that like someone who's watching in Minnesota that knows nothing about being Jewish and in business, that's like, what's like a key thing that you think it makes you guys like special? And like,
I mean, look, it's not even, I think we're not taught business.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people think about that, like,
Yeah.
oh, the parents must have taught, business to their kids. It's kind of the opposite. It's what I'm seeing, like, from my family, but from all the other successful family, what I'm seeing, the common trait is, again, it's caring about your family, right? Most of these families, their parents really care about their kids, not care just like pay and
give you money and
and
let you do
be by
whatever you
yourself,
want.
but they really care. Like, they all feel loved, or true love, from their mom, from their dad, one or the other, or both, and because you feel that love and you feel like somebody trusts you, you kind of already start there in life, and you don't start where your parents didn't care or really trusted you or believed in you, right? So it's really, I think that's the base, is you have trust, you have belief, you have love, and I think from there you kind of feel like you can accomplish everything. At least your mom says so, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I love it. Well, my mom worked for a Jewish family her whole life. And her whole life. No, my mom has an interesting story, but we'll save that for another time. But she came from a very wealthy family growing up. My mom
in Colombia.
In Colombia, yeah. And then she came here. She was like the black sheep of her family.
Okay.
To clean houses.
Okay.
She was cleaning houses and it was a life that she was not used to.
What was your family doing?
They were farmers, ganaderos. In Spanish we say ganaderos. My grandfather was a lawyer, very well-known lawyer, and he owned a lot of cattle, and that's like how you get rich in Colombia before narcos stuff. But so when she came here, she was like the black sheep, rock star girl, and so when she started working here, the first job that she really had my whole life was she worked for a Jewish family. And so I grew up going also like every day after school with her. And something that I took away always, that the lady that she took care of would always tell me, Natalie, she would always tell me, she's like, Natalie, you're going to be a lawyer. She would tell me, you're going to be a lawyer. She would always say that to me. She's like, you're going to be a lawyer. You're so special. You're always so kind with me. And she always told me, save your money. Like, that was like...
Those are good values, you can keep your whole life.
Save your money. Yeah. See, and my mom till this day, she goes, Mrs. Tucson. That was just her, Miss Tucson. Shout out to her family if she's still there, they ever watch, but I'm very grateful for them. And those were like key things that like I always remember and stuff. It's so interesting. But let me ask you, what is something like, in terms of whenever you're having maybe like a bad day or overstressed or maybe overwhelmed or something, or maybe a deal's not going the way that you want it, or maybe in your personal relationships, what's a tradition or ritual or teaching that you tend to always kind of like go back to?
That's a good question. So it depends. I think if it's I think I have a different way of coping, like family and business.
Yeah.
Right. I think business is kind of just unplugging at night, because like I'm usually like on nerves and stressing from
nervous system crazy
from the the time I wake up to till I go to sleep. So I think something that helps is kind of unplugging, at least a couple hours during the day, usually at the end of the day, and doing something else, and then you wake up the next day, usually have ideas about how to solve it that you didn't have when you were in the middle of the action, right? So I think that's a good way. Back then, today I just go to my kids, and it just helps me like switch my my mind, right, and think about something else.
Oh my god.
Family, like on the personal side, when something is stressful, I mean, I like to actually that works both ways, but I like to and again that comes from my parents as well. It's I like to kind of take a step back and you see the whole situation or your life or whatever, that business deal, or you know, and you take a step, even 2, 3, 4 step back, and you kind of see your life as a whole. And usually that comforts you, because like you have this one little
you're like tripping out about something,
well,
so
and then you kind of, and it's the end of the world, and you know, this guy is screwing me, and my you know, this is not going my way, and this is not going my way, and my mother is annoying me, like all those things, right? And then you kind of take a step back, and you're like, all right, wait, is my life that bad? And you kind of look at your entire thing. I have my family, and I work, or I have my business, and it kind of helps
alleviate the scope of things.
Exactly. And then you take things a little on the better side.
Yeah.
You know?
I do something similar. I call it the foosball approach.
Okay.
Where I imagine a foosball table. You know, the little game?
Yeah.
Little foosball table. So like someone's operating it, right? So then I'm like, okay, are we being controlled? I start to think of that. Okay, no, let me look at it as if I'm the foosball player. Okay? I'm operating as if I'm the little player with the little ball in there. But I need to look at it from a higher perspective where I'm operating the foosball table. Yeah. And there's another person there on the other side, but I never let them win. They're not going to win. I'm in control of the foosball table.
They can win this game. You win the next one.
Yeah, I win the next one. Exactly. Yeah. So I love that you say that. It's like when you truly think about, I also think of like sports, you know, like when we're watching, I always tell my partner too, I'm like, who's really in control when you're watching the NBA game? It's like, is it really like the NBA player? Because in a sense, they're kind of like, they could be like puppets, you know? But who's really benefiting?
Some more than others, yeah.
Yeah, some more than others. So who's really of benefit of the whole thing? Yeah. Oh, they're not even in there watching. They're not even watching. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's that perspective. I love it. I want to ask you, you have seen success. People might see you be the successful person, and maybe they might see it as, oh, he got successful super fast, he's so young, and he has everything he wants, blah, 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 blah. People will see that, right? How have you ever felt underestimated when you're maybe negotiating deals, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, like, you know, because I'm still young, a lot of people think, you know, that I don't have enough experience or this or that. I don't even pay attention to it.
No.
So I handle it. I just do it, you know, my way. And as long as I'm happy, it's what counts, you know.
Yes, dude. I love that. You don't even let it faze you.
No. I actually kind of reverse it, right? Where if they feel like they're better because they're older and more experienced or even more successful, I just kind of use it to my advantage.
Yeah, you're right. Like, hey, you're right. You are more successful. There's like this quote that I know it's like a little like what, but there's a quote. Paris Hilton. I know this is random.
Great philosopher.
Yeah, great. Yeah. The great philosopher, yes. Paris Hilton once said, let people hear what they want to hear and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Sure, she didn't invent that, but yes.
I don't know. I heard it from her. She's like, I heard her one time watching on this some silly show, whatever. But she's actually a real estate mogul too, believe it or not.
Yes. Bigger than me, for sure.
Bigger than all of us.
We all know the last name.
Yeah, Hilton.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, how do you think that, how old were you when you became a father?
23 and 25. 2 kids.
Young.
Yeah. Yes. Started everything early.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think that influenced the track that you're on?
I like business-wise, I mean, probably influenced. I haven't thought too much about it because I was already working hard before I had kids. I hear a lot of people that say they didn't get their shit together until they had kids.
Yeah.
Maybe, yes. Also, I mean, it's kind of like, it's another reason why you can't just go sideways and do some crazy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least, you know, within reason.
Yeah.
No, I think it's being there, like having some time. Like when I had kids, I you know, before I had kids, I was thinking, oh, look, I have time. I'm fucking 23.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never going to get old, and
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. And having kids is kind of like teaching you a little more responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, I can do whatever I want, or I can, but I had to take my kids with me. And you know, especially here in America, kids are expensive.
Yes.
Right? Unless you not,
especially
you know,
when they like bubble. What is the
yes, and they want to do
Skincare.
music videos,
expensive
and
music videos.
They want to go on trips, and I like to show them the world, right? So I bring them to different countries all the time, and that's a cost. So I can just.
Do you think it's helped?
Yeah.
That pressure,
so. I think so.
I gave you, like, you know, like, okay.
I think it did. And
girls
then,
too. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. But then you can, you know, there's different ways to go about it, right? Because I do work a lot and all the time, but I didn't pick a job where I have to be in an office all day, and you know, because if not, I would just not see my kids much. So my line of work, you can kind of work from home. You can pop in the office. I work from my phone most of the time, on my laptop. So I'm on vacation. I can just. It's like I never left, right? So depends on the work, right? But like, kind of recenters you with the kids, and it also brings you, you know, keeps you grounded. Yes.
Keeps you grounded.
Keeps you grounded. Yeah. Whether you're successful or not, it kind of brings you back to the middle.
Oh, they bring you back to earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, especially my daughter.
Yeah.
I guess.
You guys, I'm telling you, we're gonna have her sitting here. Okay, my next question for you is, how do you think, or I know you think, I know even though you're like, I know that you're like, I don't, but you do. What kind of impact does your faith and your beliefs have in your business? Have the way that you operate as a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, it does have an impact. You know, I think, and I think it's, you know, every different beliefs and faith could have a positive impact or negative. I think it's about how you go about your faith, right? And your beliefs. I'm a big believer, but I also like to, you know, kind of see both sides of things. So I just, you know, again, trust the process, but always prepare for the worst. Yeah. So same thing, right?
Trust has been like the biggest thing.
Trust, yeah, and then you know, beliefs too. Like I do think that you need to talk about it for it to happen, but it doesn't have to, right? Like you can think about it, you can talk about it. Some people work better with different ways. Some people have been super successful when they got a mentor. Some people just got screwed over by mentors, and you know, it's different ways to go about it. You gotta pick the way that works for you, I guess.
You mentioned that you don't have mentors.
No.
Talk to me about that.
No, I think it's a big thing in America, not so much outside of here. I don't know, like if you don't know about what you're getting into, then it probably is helpful. Even if you do, I mean, I guess I replaced my mentors with just relationships, where I know people that are more successful than me. I have a few of my family members that have done different things that are successful, others that did terrible. So you kind of learn from what you see, from what you talk about. I don't feel like I need a mentor. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would do so much better with a mentor. You wanna mentor? That's your next course. But
Stay tuned,
think
part 2.
Each his own. I heard great stuff. I heard terrible stuff. I heard people got screwed over by those courses and mentors, especially with social media today. Like a lot of people start to spend some crazy amount of money, sometimes life savings, into scams.
These scams. I know. I've seen it.
Unfortunately,
I've seen it. You mentioned something that I'd love your input too. Talk to me about. You mentioned like you know, you don't have necessarily a lot of mentorship, but your relationships become your mentor guides, right? Your guides. Your relationships and being in rooms around people who are doing things, right? Talk to me about being in the right room. How important is that to you? And being around people who are doing things that may be bigger than you are doing right now.
It's great, and it's also not great, right? Because a lot of people, like, you can, you know, you get into your first room, right? And you just start meeting those people. You think everybody's great, and everybody is as successful as they're saying they
as
are,
they're portraying to be.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times, sometimes it's true, and you actually learn from a lot of people, and sometimes it's deceiving, right? Where you think this guy's, you know, who you want to be, and then knowing him a little better, then you just, you know, you realize that it definitely not is who you want to be, right? And so I think it works both ways, though. You learn from their success, their failure, how they act and how they behave, and you know, I learned a lot. Like, I guess my mentors was my family. Right?
Yeah. Well, you also had a great mentor, which is your dad. Not everybody, most Americans really cannot say that.
Yeah.
They can't say my dad was a mentor in terms of not just my inner well-being, but business-wise. So that's also another thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was more of a mentor, where I don't really, like, he doesn't sit down and teach me stuff, right? But just to see him, how he behaved at work, how he took care of his family, how he took care of his wife. And, you know, I'm way more, and I spend way more time with my kids than he did, but he also had to start from nowhere. And right, where I had a little jump start, let's say. So I kind of, like, you know, played both ways. But parents, again, going back to religion, like, I feel like a lot of the Jewish families have kind of their parents to rely on, whether it's business or just in general. And you come crying and complaining, and they kind of put that trust back in you, and you can do it, and you're gonna do it, and it's gonna circle back, right? So it's I think it's that, just coming, as long as you have this safe base, a safe zone, right, that you can just keep coming back to.
People in your corner.
That's what's important. So if you don't have it, I had it, but if you don't have it because your parents were just not here, or for whatever reason, I think it's important to create it for
those relationships.
Your kids.
Build it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's super. I've learned so much about you, and I'm super, super grateful for you being here. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all my guests, because this is the Rich in Soul podcast.
Okay.
And I want to ask you, what does being rich in soul mean to you?
Rich in soul? I think it's, the way I interpret it is more like being happy with life in general, right? I think it's enjoying your life and taking advantage of everything you have now, at least, and without, you know, giving yourself too many headaches and making problems out of things that are not problems or real problems. And I think it's really enjoying what you have.
Do you think that... Ooh, well, he's like, what about you?
What do you think?
What I think being rich in soul is relationships. It's that wholeness, right? Of every day waking up and having that mission of wanting to help mankind, right? Of everything that I do, every action, that it's having a positive input on life, and that I'm giving it my all. I think it feels good. I'm sure you feel really good when you, like, go home at night and you're about to sleep and you're like, maybe I didn't get that deal, but I worked my ass off today, and I still made time to give to my family.
Yeah.
And then now it's a matter of you giving back to yourself, right? That's like, that's the tricky part.
As long as you enjoy the process.
As long as you enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, you got to be able to enjoy. A lot of people do this and they hate it.
Yeah. Which, you know, they still accomplish a mission. They still help
a lot of people, but they hate
but
it.
They don't enjoy it.
Oof.
Which, you know, that's why I'm asking you, because like rich in soul is really whatever you're doing, even if you're not working your ass off, as long as you enjoy your life. You only have one, right? Just enjoy it. If working is not your thing, just fucking do something else.
Yes, dude.
Enjoy it.
I always say everybody has like a different role. Like you don't have to be the hardworking person. No. You know, like every person has. It could be like I have the same conversation with. It's interesting with the top business mogul person as the head of the household mom. Like it's almost like the same exact conversation because they have so many responsibilities. Like it's equal. In your world, it's the same thing. Like you're running the business of your home, which is like even crazier. You know, so you have lives that are literally you're generating, like implanting these seeds in these children every single day. So, man, I had so much fun talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully it's the first of many more. And
I don't leave that far.
I appreciate it, and I had so much fun talking to you. And if anybody's watching and they're interested in investing with you, a lot of people don't know where to put their money. We start to see a little bit of money, and the truth is, I was talking to my partner the other day. I'm like, even though my parents did the best that they could, and I'm not saying that I grew up super like no money. My parents didn't know how money worked, I think, especially in the U.S. as immigrants, right? Yeah. And we start to see some money. I remember when I started to see some money in my own bank account, I truly did not know what to do with it. And I didn't know how much I needed to do something with it. And I think it's really cool that people get this access of you right now. You're making yourself accessible, and people can make money with you and ask you questions still. You're tangible. You're becoming more tangible. I'm starting accessible.
Starting to.
Where can people learn more about investing with you?
Yeah, so I mean, with me or with anybody else, right? It's and that's what a lot of people make is, you know, who to trust, even though you can't really trust anybody. Who to trust is really, you have to look at what they've done and how much, they call it here, the skin in the game they have, right? A lot of people, especially in real estate, but hedge funds, private equity, every single, you know, offering you have out there, most of the people that are offering that don't put their own money or you know, barely any of their money
like syndicate
in what they're selling you, right? So invest in this deal, it's a great deal, you know, fucking deal of the year, but they have like 2% of the capital is theirs. The rest is all raise, and so and they're charging you fees left and right. So and that's how funds work, right? Most of the time it's the sponsor or the owner of the fund puts a little ticket of his own in there, and then he raises money from everybody. Whether the deal goes good or bad, they're making money. You know? I think I had the opportunity to do that a few years ago, and I didn't. I've had very few partners, 2 so far, that I invested with.
Yeah.
I've never raised money. Friends, I kept it like friends and family around my table that you mentioned earlier.
The table.
So because I wanted to build my business and my track record before I even had somebody trust me to give me their money, right? I did it because I wouldn't like to be on the other side of that, and I didn't want to mess up on a deal without as much experience as I have today. So I think today I built a pretty good track record, right? So I've you started talking about it, but I know what I'm good at, and I feel way more comfortable to bring in investors. Now the particularity of that is the deals that I'm going to open up for investors, and I'm only starting that now, I have 50% of it is my capital.
Wow, right? That's rare.
So it doesn't matter who's investing with me. I'm looking out for myself like everybody else is, and I'm not going to lose my 50%. So I think it helps for, that model helps people put trust in you, because they don't even have to trust you. They just have to trust that you're gonna
win. You're not gonna want to lose your
care
own
about
money.
your own money, right? Which everybody kind of does. And so that's kind of the model we're gonna do it. So I did 2 big partnerships with families that are way wealthier than I am. I don't know if I can say the names here.
Can you say the names? I was gonna say, can you say the names?
I'm doing
what
hotels.
Are the
names? The hotels I'm doing with the Anheuser-Busch family, which is the family behind Budweiser. So it's a 50-50 partnership, and we're getting ready now to start raising capital on the hotel platform. And we're creating a new brand and collection of hotels. And then I started doing commercial real estate, which is really like shopping centers. Those outside grocery anchored shopping centers. And I'm doing that with the family behind Timberland, the brand Timberland.
Yeah.
The Schwartz family.
Yes.
So again, 2 great families to work with, not just
great
for the
reputation.
capital, but because they're old school mentality. It's all about trust. It's all about putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yes.
And so I'm creating those 2 different funds, and I'm going to start allowing people to join.
How much do people, like if somebody's interested in investing with you, and first off, before I even ask you that question, I just want to say, like, that is super, for those of you guys that are watching and that are interested in getting into real estate. Let's say you're going to invest in real estate with someone, a fund, like any type of person, if it's an individual, or in this case, right, Assouline Capital, it is so rare that it's not just a syndication. You're telling me right now, you're putting your own money. That is so rare in this space, and I don't think people truly understand that.
No.
So that is huge green flag. Green flag.
Yeah.
So let's say if somebody's watching right now and they're like, I am interested in investing. How much is the minimum you think that somebody should have to invest with you?
Right now, the way I'm set up, it has to be accredited investors. So usually it's starting at 100,000.
100K. Okay.
Depending on the deal, right? Like hotels, the 2 hotels we have are pretty big deals. So until we create a more, fund with more properties in there, we've been taking friends and family money starting at 250.
Okay.
But I started at 100,000.
Okay.
Now I'm setting up a structure for both asset types, where I can take non-accredited investors, so more of a retail investors, which usually starts at 10, 20,000.
Okay, beautiful. So if you are an accredited investor or non-accredited, that's coming.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out and take advantage that Tom is available, and that Assouline Capital is making that accessible for people, which is really rare. Again, so thank you for that opportunity. So where could people find out more information?
Soon. Right now, I have an Instagram page that I
reach out to me and I'll send them to you.
On that. Assouline Capital. That's on Instagram. I have a website, Assouline Capital, but I'm creating a whole new thing now with the real website where people can actually inquire about these investments. They can see the track record. They can see how the deal's doing.
Yes.
Still coming up with the name for that.
Don't worry, guys. We're going to put a link down below where you guys can get more information on investing. And it's so interesting because most people who are in this space, who have seen the amount of success that you've seen, don't make themselves accessible. And you making that decision to make yourself accessible is such a gift to the world. And I'm super honored of you being like pretty much launching this thing for this community right now. It's you guys, I'm gonna send you this way. Okay. You're gonna send people this way. We're gonna send people like this, and this is how you get to sit at the table.
Thanks, Natty.
Thank you, Tom. What an awesome conversation that we got to have, the first of many on the podcast. And just thank you so much again for allowing yourself to be a vessel of creating abundance and allowing people to enjoy the process of what they're doing, so
thanks for having me.
Yes,
it was a good conversation.
Always.
On camera or not.
On camera or no camera. Did you feel like you were on camera?
No, I didn't. I forgot after the first 5 minutes.
You said the first 5 minutes you were like, there's a camera, and then you forgot. You see.